G'day mates, how are you doing? Have you eaten Alfie today?
Did you wash your ass today?
So okay, moving on from that horrible accent, but you know, I am here today in front of you all to fulfill a promise I made to a certain viewer who goes by the ad Miss Yumi or Miss Yummy 1040, which sounds a lot like a certain type of graphics card for some reason. But you know, whatever. They wanted to see Medaka Kurokami from Medaka Box take on the Dragon Ball universe. And since I am a man of my word, I went straight to doing this project right after I finished binging High School DxD, and I really do mean binging all seasons. Like, I have a problem. But those are just tiny details, right? So moving back to the main topic of today's video, Medaka Box is one of those anime that I watched only once, like back in, I want to say 2012, 2013, which is also when it aired, I believe. So I don't really remember a lot about it. So I started off with rewatching the anime and reading through the wiki to get a decent handle on what Medaka can actually do. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I got sidetracked once again and started looking at the High School DxD wiki instead to view certain pictures of certain demons. But moving back on track again, I came to the conclusion that she is kinda busted as hell. At least in one of the two scenarios I'm going to look at today. Well, considering how far Medaka would get, I came up with two possibilities which vary quite greatly from one another, but without spoiling too much, let's look at what she can actually do. Starting off with the simple and typical shonen MC character traits, Medaka is a prodigy with an above average growth rate. This translates to her being able to learn any skill and technique at an advanced rate. This trait is not really that special, but it is still worth mentioning. Medaka is also a strong mommy queen. She has superhuman adaptability, agility, balance, coordination, dexterity, durability, endurance, flexibility, reflexes, senses, speed, and strength. I read that list straight from a wiki page and it took me 6 takes to do that without fumbling it, but this basically translates to she is better than I will ever be. But other than being able to fold me in half with her thighs, she is also adept at several martial arts. She is a red belt in judo and knows her way around kendo. She is also shown to be able to do the off-scrimmage technique and catch bullets. Sorry farmer with a shotgun, but don't worry, your day is yet to come. But these skills are kind of expected of every character taking on this challenge. What really sets her apart is the ability which is called the End, which is a really edgy name for a technique which doesn't even really fit the name. But let's take a look at what Zaendo actually does. The End is basically the most broken ability I have read for a long time, and I will just read the wiki explanation for you guys so you can have the same WTF reaction that I had. Medaka is capable of learning abnormalities and completely mastering them to the extent that she can use them to 120% of their capability, becoming more skilled with them than even their original owners. This ability allows her to learn any skill quickly. As her abnormality has developed, Medaka can now learn abilities based off of information or word of mouth, and can now copy minuses, successfully learning 5 forks from only a second-hand description. Throughout her time at Hakoniwa, Medaka has also managed to learn Encounter, Scardat, Icefire, Unknown Hero, Modest Task, Bookmaker, All Fiction, and a portion of Ajimu's quadrillion skills, of which she has demonstrated 100 trample skills. However, the End does have its limits. While Medaka can learn skills that exceed her physical capabilities, she cannot copy the physical capabilities of the original skill holder. Medaka is unable to stop herself from learning an abnormality when she experiences it. She is also unable to learn other people's styles. This ability sounds pretty damn broken, right? Like, I'm not the only one who reads this and is like, okay, how is anybody going to beat this? But the last couple of sentences highlight a glaring weakness that will come back later in this video, so stay tuned for that. But before we start putting her up against the Dragon Ball universe, there is one more skill we have to look at. Medaka, like many other shonen protagonists, has a transformation. This transformation is called her War God mode, and it acts as your basic multiplier in speed and strength, with the added benefit that she does not hear words while in this form. This may sound useless, but she becomes immune to persuasion or manipulation because she quite simply can't hear anybody talking to her. War God mode has multiple variations that act pretty similar to how Super Saiyan 2 is an upgrade for regular Super Saiyan. Her first upgrade is called her Altered God mode. War God mode makes her act like a berserker, kind of like Broly-esque, whilst Altered God mode allows her more control of herself and her power. The The next upgrade is called Forsaken God mode, which sounds really cool, but it really sucks, because this mode makes her 100% guaranteed to be weaker than her opponent. In all reality, this is more of a downgrade than it is an upgrade. It more so serves a character-driven plot point where, you know, it's suitable for the story, then it's actually meant to help her win any fight. She also has her Hybrid God mode, which also doesn't really seem to fit a specific purpose, as it was shown to be rather ineffective in like one of the only fights it ever appeared in. And lastly, she has her End God mode, which is an actual upgrade this time, and while in this mode she can move faster than the speed of sound, whilst also having her powers multiplied. This is her final like end-all be-all transformation and the current known peak of her power. So we have talked about her abilities enough by now. Let's just throw her into the KFC deep fryer and match her up against Dragon Ball's strongest elites, starting with the fearsome, dreadful General Blue. Yeah, okay, a bit of an exaggerated introduction for General Blue, but he does actually fit into the world of Medaka Box fairly well. Medaka's universe is filled with abnormals, some having similar abilities to Blue's paralyzing stare. Alongside his ability to paralyze people with his gaze, he can also literally punch rocks to smithereens, so he's actually pretty strong. So Blue is someone I often like to start out with because he is the first real quote-unquote supervillain Goku and the gang encounter before ki usage became a common thing. But sadly for our gay facet general, he is about to get folded in half and just thrown into the wayside, like he has no shot. Medaka could just copy his ability and use it on him to kick his ass, but in all fairness, I doubt she would even need to. She is adept enough at combat to the point where she can just beat everyone all the way up to probably guys like Saiyan Saga Vegeta, in all fairness, and this is like including her ability to steal or copy other people's power. She doesn't get to like Saiyan Saga Vegeta by just punching people, she actually does have to, you know, copy their powers. So her ability being so busted makes it easy for her to just use her enemy's powers against them, but I mentioned before that the glaring weakness of said power would come into play later, and that later is right now. So let's say she makes it to the Saiyan Saga and is fighting Vegeta alongside Goku. Goku uses his Kaioken, right? So Medaka is forced to learn the move due to the nature of her ability. When Medaka uses the Kaioken, she will unalive herself instantly. Goku's body was trained specifically to handle the Kaioken. Medaka cannot copy Goku's physical attributes, so if she sees Goku use the Kaioken, it's basically game over for her. There are also other abilities she simply would not be able to just copy with 100% certainty, you know, some of these being the Namekian's ability to regenerate lost limbs, Frieza's ability to survive in outer space, the Saiyan's ability to obtain Zenkai boosts or transform into a great ape or Super Saiyan, etc. And any ability that is dependent on the physical traits of its user, which also includes things like, you know, Ultra Instinct. Like, if you do not have the trained body to use this ability, you will just lose. You will instantly lose if you try to copy this. So the first time she would encounter this block would be when fighting King Piccolo and Piccolo Jr. But I feel that she could still beat them with her other abilities. But when it comes to the Saiyan Saga, she would get cucked by Goku having to use the Kaioken to keep up. So she indirectly loses there, not because of her enemy, but ironically enough due to her allies. And even if, let's say we ever beat Vegeta, the guys that come after Vegeta like Ginyu and Frieza are so many leagues above her that I am not sure her body would be able to keep up. And what I mean by this is as follows. Let's say she copies Ginyu's abilities, so she raises her power level to 144,000, 120% of Ginyu's 120,000, and she gets access to his ki-based skills and combat strength. If she uses his ki attacks, I am fairly certain she would just blow herself up. The same thing if she throws a punch, she would destroy her own arm by doing so. Her fatal flaw is that she cannot copy any physical attributes of her opponents. When she is in the Dragon Ball universe, she would be a ticking self-destruct switch just waiting to go off. So in this scenario, I would place her at the fight with Vegeta, where she would get cucked by Goku, which is still really funny to me. But at the beginning of this video, I talked about two possible scenarios. The scenario I just discussed is the one that I'm going with, but you know, I do feel like it's worth mentioning that I do think another scenario could occur. This other scenario being that she cannot copy ki skills at all. She has the ability to copy other people's abnormalities for sure, but is ki even considered an abnormality? It's something that everybody in the Dragon Ball universe can theoretically use given enough training. In this scenario, she would fall at the hands of Demon King Piccolo with no questions asked. Like, if she cannot copy ki skills or ki-based attacks or whatever, or any powers with ki, she would get absolutely folded in half by King Piccolo because he would just one-tap her. But like I said before, the scenario I discussed earlier is going to be the scenario I'm going to be using for this video. video because I find it to be a much more fun discussion to talk about. It's just more fun to talk about her actually being able to do stuff instead of like being a Debbie Downer and just completely disregarding the possibility that she could use key skills. So I have ultimately decided to place, Medaka at the fated battle against Saiyan Saga Vegeta, but in the end this video is just meant to be a fun place for discussing how far Medaka would get in Dragon Ball. Do you agree with my placement, or do you think I misjudged her and she should be way higher or way lower on the list? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more similar content in the future, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon to never miss another video ever again. And if you want to support me in another way, I recently set up a channel membership option. It's only $5 a month, but please only spend your money on supporting me if you can, afford to do so. I would much rather you people just spend your money on your own hobbies, on your own homes, on your own food, Obviously, I would love it if you would be able to support me, but things are expensive enough already after all. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.